What's up, guys? This is Roy of Roy's Reviews, and today I'm going to be reviewing Thomas Was Alone. Thomas Was Alone is a game that's primarily about friendship, but the friendship is between blocks instead of people. And the people, or the blocks rather, in the game come to represent people over the span of the 10 subsections of levels that the game has. Now, what's really interesting about the game is there's been a new wave of narrator-driven games such as Stanley Parable, Bastion, Transistor, all of which heavily rely on a narrator to convey the world. And Thomas Was Alone is grouped in with that same category of games.
Thomas looked at the glowing beam. That list he'd been writing seemed pretty petty now. This was all knowledge, all of it, right in front of him. He was sorry Sarah couldn't step into it too. He could tell she felt the same way, from the shouting, and the screaming. Thomas was connected to the internet for 12 seconds, and he had seen everything. He'd seen the cat who couldn't spell, he'd heard of the arrow through the knee. He felt there was probably a thing called cake, but that was a lie.
And the narrator really does a beautiful job of not just conveying what's special about each individual block, but also telling the story of the blocks. Because the game is a humanization of human evolution, because every block is contained within this limit of things they can do and things they can't do. For instance, Chris can't jump very high. Thomas can jump decently high, but he can't swim. And so the blocks come to codepend on each other to complete the levels. In such a way, it's really the story of how humans evolved to function in groups. And it's this beautiful metaphor for how human evolution couldn't have occurred if not within large groups, or at least small groups. And every level or so, you get this little bit of narration that just pushes the story forward for a little bit longer.
Claire was alone, which was odd, because she wasn't meant to be alone. She needed to be where there were rectangles to save. Being the only superhero in a given space kind of defeats the object. Spikes? That was new. Claire avoided them. She decided they were most likely her kryptonite. Not the rubbish red kryptonite either, the proper radioactive green stuff.
And the narrations can be fairly simple. It can be something like Laura or Sarah, I can't remember which the long red piece was, talking about how she's terrified of this black cloud that follows her around.
Laura didn't have time to worry about the ominous pixel cloud. It had been following her for some time, and it had kept itself to itself until now.
And so the narrator will say Laura was afraid of the black cloud. And it's this third-person omniscient narrator, almost like the Stanley Parable, where they can see into the inner lives of the blocks, or characters, so be it, and deliver this very heartfelt, interesting story of friendship, jealousy, longing, desire, and just succeed in everything it set out to do, even with such minimal tools. I enjoyed this game a lot. I do think that the big issue with Thomas Was Alone was that it suffers from some pacing issues, and that the pacing ultimately holds the game back in ways that it shouldn't, because it's such an innovative game, and it's very creative in what it does with such minimal tools. But before I wrap up this review, I'm going to hand it over to our outro man Tayo to give his review of the game, because we actually co-played this game and he has a few things to add. So Tayo, take it away.
Okay, so Tayo, what do you think about Thomas Was Alone?
Dome. Doom 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 doom